Hey VC, Big Star 1000, back here with a Revolutions installment. I'm glad you enjoyed the one that I posted last week. This video I made after a 9 month hiatus, and it's really cool to see that I am somewhat still relevant to some of you people. Thank you for being positive and being nice overall. Um, it's online interactions are most of the time not necessarily positive interactions. I mean, as social media is an avenue for people being uncivil and use bullying techniques and just it just makes me cringe. That's why I'm not on Facebook and not on any of those, because I just it's not my thing. But here on YouTube, when you're part of this vinyl community, by and large, you know people are very civil to one another and very nice. Although I did receive a couple of dislikes, presumably because I bitched about people showing endlessly showing the same records, and if you don't like it, it's okay. You can put a comment. You don't have to put a dislike there. It's just say it. Just be courageous. And this is the problem. People are cowards. They click dislike and they don't. They just walk off. I would rather that you actually say something. And I've never used the dislike button in 6 years on YouTube. Never, not once. I don't know what's there anyway. But you know, I understand that some people are not brave enough to actually speak, whatever that means. So I'm just going to stop talking about shit that doesn't matter. I'll talk about records because you're here for records. Just then, I was listening to this wonderful Theo Parrish compilation, Black Jazz Signature, which is basically a comp of really great funky black jazz tunes. Calvin Keys, The Awakening, Doug Kahn, Gene Russell, Walter Bishop Jr. with its sort of a mock black jazz. Theo Parrish is a Detroit techno producer, DJ, but this is not Detroit techno. Obviously, it's just plain old funky jazz as we like it. Highly recommend this comp. It's a fantastic comp. Staying on jazz, earlier this morning I was playing this must-have album. Mal Waldron, Eric Dolphy, Booker Irvin, The Quest on Prestige. Um, I think it's an original pressing. I'm not sure, but it costs the price of an original pressing anyway, if you get my drift. This is a superb sort of post-bop, avant-garde jazz album. It's essential, really. It's just really good. There's some great cello playing by Ron Carter. Plays it with a bow, which is very cool. This is from 1961. Yes, excellent record. And before that, staying on jazz, I was playing this fantastic sort of, again, avant-garde jazz, but in a different style. This is Ennio Morricone's tunes reinterpreted by John Zorn, Jay-Z, the original Jay-Z, not the Muppet Jay-Z. Sorry if you like Jay-Z. But this is a great record. Just as what it says on the tin. It's just basically soundtracks by Ennio Morricone reinterpreted in sort of deconstructed Way by John Zorn and a cast of thousands. Fred Frith, Bill Frisell, lots of people, lots of very cool people. This is the first John Zorn record, I think, 1986, on Non-Such Records. Very cool record. I recommend this. It's very good. Oh, we might stay on jazz. This is fantastic too. Hannibal Marvin Peterson, trumpet player extraordinaire with The Tribe, which is a collection of unissued recordings by Kindred Spirits, the Dutch label. Really like this, especially the title track, which is phenomenal, which is on side B. Check out the title track and you shall be swayed by this wonderful piece of spiritual jazz, you would say. I'd call it spiritual jazz, even though it could be a little bit of a wanky catch-all term. I might stay on jazz just for a little bit, see what I can come up with. Here is a great little, again, avant-garde jazz record, Gil Mellet, with Tome 6 on Verve. I think it's an original press. I think it's got to be. It looks old enough to be. I haven't checked. The ringwear tells me it's probably. So Gil Mellet plays sax, and he mixes on this. He mixes electronic sounds with a sort of a post-bop approach. It's very, very, very good. Very engaging jazz. The Jazz Electronauts. Just sample it on YouTube yourself. And it's quite gettable. It's a very affordable record. It's very cool. Gil Mellet. What else? This here is jazz as well. Open Sky, which is a trio made of Dave Liebman on flute and sax, Frank Tusa on bass, and Bob Moses on drums. It's on the PM label, and I remember buying this directly from Gin Perla, the guy who runs PM. What could you call this? Slightly spiritual jazz, avant-garde jazz for sure. A little bit free at times, yes. All of the above. From 1973 on PM Records. Nice record. Not mind-blowing or anything, but a nice record to have. Okay, changing register slightly. Ben Costello was commenting in my last video. He said that this record was in the background there, where the 4 records are at the moment. He spotted it. Die Grüne Reise by Achim Reichel and the Machines. Classic rock records. Psychedelic, space rock, electronic, sort of tape loops, really sort of experimental music, but really listenable. In a sort of a Faust type of way, experimental. If you're familiar with the first couple of Faust records, which are just tapes, cut ups, and that kind of sound, very short songs, and this I've had for a number of years, and I hadn't played this for a couple of years at least. It's a cool record. Achim Reichel and the Machine, Die Grüne Reise, the green travel. From the 70s, 73 I think. Okay, continuing. Some more jazz, why not? You know, it could show you some more jazz. This is a fantastic album by Sandra and the orchestra. This is Angels and Demons at Play. This is the Impulse issue of this record, which is not that easy to find, really, but it's still not. The original would be on Saturn Research, but I don't have that kind of money to spend. And this sounds great. Probably a top five Sandra, in my opinion. Like, really, just top notch. If you don't know where to start with Sandra, start with Languidity, Supersonic Jazz, this, maybe the Magic City. Um, but yeah, that'll be top five for sure. It's just really really excellent. What else? Should I stay with some jazz or should I move? I've got a couple of French records to show you. Why not? I'll just show you some French records. This here was sent to me by Christophe, Chris 4127 Basket. It is a French singer-songwriter, Catherine Lara. When I was a young boy in the 1980s, she was well known. She was a household name. She had this one-hit wonder, and it was positively unbearable. She was very, very uncool. But unbeknownst to me, she made records in the 70s. This is a first record, I think. Very, very lovely sleeve as well. And this is French chanson, slightly folky and slightly progressive. She plays the violin. This is from 19. Well, it's really got a nice little progressive undertone, progressive folk undertone, but staying sort of in sort of a French chanson sort of realm. 1972 on CBS. Thank you, Christophe. Christophe also sent me. This is the Racing VCLT that he sent me like probably a month ago. He also sent me this in the package, which is wonderful. Yves Simon, a French, again, singer-songwriter, chanson française, again, pretty much, with a slightly sort of soulful kind of, tinge. If you want to sample any tracks from this wonderful record, sample the title track Au Pays des Merveilles de Juliette. Top tune, really. I think the best track on the record. Fantastic. And speaking of French music, I've been playing a lot of this wonderful 70s French folk rock records. This is a reissue on Wawa. Originals of these are pretty pricey, and I have tried to obtain an original in France, but just a little bit out of my price range. Ilou and Décupé, often compared to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, very wrongly compared to them. I mean, I get the vocal harmonies, but to me, it sounds more like something like Christophe. For those of you who are familiar with the French singer Christophe, it has a sort of vibe about it. It's it's one of the best French records that I've heard, and I've heard a lot of them. So it's saying something, I guess. Okay, slightly changing register. Now, Anne Peacock. I was talking about Kate Bush last week. I will talk about Kate Bush again. Speaking of, but Anne Peacock she's a goddess, really. I mean, her work is so intricate and interesting. Now, don't believe the hype, people, because some of you probably paying through the nose to get copies of I'm the One, which is the album that is deemed as cool by rock snobs. However, by far not the best record. The best Annette Peacock record is Extremes. Mark my words. I've heard a lot of Annette Peacock records, and I still believe this very, very firmly. The second best probably is The Perfect Release, which is the album that follows this one. I'm the One is just got these sort of mysterious kudos for being this, hard to find, and this silver foil cover, and it's got Moog on it. It's got a couple of good tracks like Pony and I'm the One, but overall as an album, this actually is wipes it of the board entirely. It's got a cast of thousands: Bill Bruford, Chris Spedding, Mick Ronson, um, just lots and lots of people. This is in the same realm as Rock Bottom by Rob Wyatt, if you're familiar. It's this sort of jazz rock. It's a little bit funky as well, but overall it creates an atmosphere which is very idiosyncratic. It's its own thing. Um, it's just really infectious music. I mean, very high recommendation for me. And I really hadn't revisited this album in years properly, but I've played it a couple of times, and it's very cool. In the past few months, I've also been revisiting my Roxy music collection. Don't ask me why. I've probably read something in one of those books that sort of triggered a curiosity again. I have pretty much every Roxy music record, but my favorite one at the moment is Stranded, which is a fantastic piece of music. Such an exquisite record sleeve too. And this is a first press, English first press on Island Records. Just Brian Ferry is just a cool dude. That's all I can say. This is a post Brian Eno record. I think it's their third album, Stranded, probably. Something like that. It's one of their very first records, and I think it's probably at the moment. I think it's their best. Um, Also, really like Avalon at the moment, but this is fantastic. And 1973 Roxy Music. If you have some Roxy Music albums, just give them a chance. They're very cool. Staying on English rock, if you like, why not? Last week I was talking about the Dreaming, and this week I want to talk about Never Forever, which is Kate Bush's third record. Yes, I think yes, it's the one after the Kick Inside. I think yes. This is a wonderful Canadian press. I just love the sleeve of this. And this is famous for Babushka, which is the opening cut, but it's also got violin on it, which is a really, really superb song. What can I say about Kate Bush? I mean, if you don't have this, not quite as good as The Dreaming, as I was saying to you last week, but still, you can't really go wrong with Kate Bush. I mean, even shit Kate Bush is better than most. And there's no such thing as shit Kate Bush, anyway. Okay, well, since I'm talking about UK rock and pop, I have to spend a moment talking about A Moon-Shaped Pool. I don't like the title of that record at all. I don't know why. It just doesn't really do anything for me. What's a moon-shaped pool? Crescent moon? Full moon? The circle? I don't know. It's cool. It's not, it's not Kid A. It's not like a computer. But it's up there. It's a very good album. I only got it a few days ago. What's the point of pre-ordering things, people, when they turn up after they arrive in the shops? What's the point of that? I went on Radiohead's website. I pre-ordered this, like a good boy I am, and then I received it 2 weeks nearly after it was in the shops. I'm quite disgruntled about this. It's a fantastic album. I'm glad I got the black version too, because the white vinyl is shit. I mean, really, seriously, it's the worst color vinyl you can get. White. It's in terms of sound. Really, it's the worst. The best color vinyl is clear vinyl. The worst color vinyl is white vinyl. That's after reading much about the subject. Um, so yes, it's on black, which is nice. Yeah, I really like this, but I can't really say how classic it is in the Radiohead sort of story. Probably maybe top five. I don't know. I don't know. Some more UK rock. This is the very first Cabaret Voltaire record, which I've been playing a bit recently. It's on Rough Trade, as you can see. Original pressing, I think. The mix up industrial music, electronic. Very avant-garde electronic for the time. It was, these guys were just at the forefront of it all. Them and the Human League and other bands of that ilk. It all came from the same place too. I think Cabaret Voltaire also came from Sheffield, as did the Human League. Fantastic record. What can I say? If you like electronic post-punk, I've been playing quite a bit of Cabaret Voltaire recently, and I could have chosen other records, but this one is the one that probably came out the most. And on a segue of electronic music, here is a great recently issued soundtrack for a film that was sort of never made, Dune. Alejandro Jodorowsky, one of my favorite directors. If you haven't seen his movies, El Topo and The Holy Mountain, I mean, The Holy Mountain is just about the most psychedelic movie ever made, and you it's a psychedelic experience just watching the movie. You don't even need to be on any psychotic to actually just go. It's mind blowing, and El Topo is just insane. Psychedelic Western movie. Uh, Jodorowsky is just he's a genius. And this soundtrack by Kurt Stenzel, very minimal stuff. What cracked me up is it's. I was reading the notes and it's recorded on. He said he recorded on Audacity, which is the most basic recording of it. It's on his computer. It's I'm a teacher and I use it to record students. Um, when they have to do some talking in my classes. So it's just the most basic thing, and this was recorded on it. It's from Light in the Attic. Very cool electronic soundtrack. Maybe a bit too long. Maybe this is a double album. Could he have kept it to one single album? I think so. On a completely different plane of existence, it's the first time I played this in forever. I must have had this album for a good 8 years in my collection, and rarely do I pull it out. And every time I pull it out, it's fantastic. The Pharaohs, spiritual soul jazz, Afro jazz, whatever you want to call it. Very, very spiritual indeed. Lots of horns, lots of funky drums. It is a masterpiece. I really, really mean this. It's a reissue on Love and Hate. I mean, if you can find an original of this, you're probably rich. Or maybe you were around when this music came out. I don't know. Maybe. But the Pharaohs is top class, top notch. Okay, a few more. See, I'm extending this a bit because I think that posting a video a week or something that might be worth a while. Another top class spiritual soul jazz. No, not spiritual. Just a really great soul jazz record. It's a bit like an African American version of David Axelrod, to give you a reference point. Johnny Pate, outrageous. This guy wrote soundtracks for Shaft in Africa, and it's really, really cool orchestral funk. It's one of the best. It's fantastic. This is an OG on, what's the label? MGM, yes. MGM. There you go. Fantastic record. Very, very, very highly recommended. If you can find it. There's always that. Some American sort of post-punk esque music, Wall of Voodoo, Call of the West, with the vocals of Stan Ridgway, and kind of a mix between The Cure and the Feelies and something like that. Something that's just, kind of a slightly gothic, new wave. I don't know how to describe it. It's cool. Okay, I'll finish off with a couple more records here. I know it's probably been a long video, but why not? And you can always stop me. Here is a great African synth record, minimal synth from Africa. Maman Sani. Tarit is the name of the album. Maman Sani is a keyboard synth player from Niger, which is in Africa. Used to be a French colony, and this was recorded in Paris and in Niger as well, in Niamey, in the 80s, 1985, 1988. This is very, very cool African synth. Like it's African music, as you imagine it to be, but played on synths. And this was cheap as well, so it's very easily gettable. It's on Sound of Sahel Sound, sorry. Here is an Australian record that I've been playing a lot recently. Panther. This is a real gem of Australian sort of, you could call it jazz, but it's not really jazz. It's more, sounds more like something between Osibisa, Santana. It's kind of this sort of jazz rock with a real African Latin undertone. They're a band from Sydney, and this record is something that I really like to revisit every now and then because it's really good. It's almost in some ways better than Osibisa and some of the Santana records because it's its own kind of flavor. It is on Wizard Records. It's Australian Latin jazz rock record. And the last one is a French record, Colette Mani, who is kind of a avant-garde jazz singer, fairly underground in France, not very well known. If you are into French music, you would. She's on the same sort of line as Brigitte Fontaine and Catherine Ribeiro, in that she's one of the underground French female vocalists. People will know about Françoise Hardy. People will know about there's a lot of Jane Birkin, and people will know about those ladies. But Colette Mani it's a bit more specific. To enjoy fully Colette Mani, knowledge of the French language is almost a prerequisite because she sings about black consciousness. She sings about slavery and the state of African American people. So if you don't understand French, it sort of spoils the experience a little bit. Feu et rythme. Fire and rhythm. That's all I have for you right now, VC. I hope you enjoy it. Keep talking to me. I'll come back next week. Maybe. Well, I think I will.